Hi, I'm Heather from booktubes, and today is the mid-year freakout tag. I've been doing this for as long as I've been on booktube, so this is my fourth round, I think. Fifth round? Who even knows? Who even knows? Not me. I am doing a little bit earlier this year just because of the amount of videos I'm doing for the Amazing Readathon. This is the time where it fit into my schedule best, so you're welcome. We're starting out right away with question number one, as one does. Best book you've read? This is easy. This is easy. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I freaking love this fancy romance duology. Let me go get it because I did buy it, which is a sign of my affection for sure. I don't really buy books, but I don't know. I had a gift card and I just wanted to. All right, here it is. It is Gilded, which I could use for a prompt right now, but I don't want to reread it yet because I love it too much to ruin the experience by rereading it when I don't want to. Oh, I love this book so much. So basically, she is just a girl. She's just a girl, and she has a nightmare inside of her mind. The nightmare has been with her for several years, for most of her childhood, from an incident. And magic is illegal, and the nightmare stuff is magic. So she is kind of hiding under the radar. Her father is high up in the government, and so that definitely helps. Someone knows that she has magic, and she has to work with the captain of the guard, which is the king's nephew, to try and make magic legal, protect the people who have magic, and kind of reset the kingdom to rights. And this was such a fun and amazing fantasy romance. There's a lot of romance in it. There's a lot of magic. There's a lot of world building. I'm not usually someone who is like, oh, you have to read this book for the world building, but I really loved this one. It's like a poem at the beginning of each chapter, and that plays so much into the lore and like what you know about the world and the magic system and what happened and how this country got to this point in the first place. And I just absolutely adore it. And then the second question is the best sequel you've read so far this year. Oh man, Two Twisted Crowns. Both of these books were 5 stars. Both of these were favorites of the year. This one actually follows different characters than the first book. So the first book ends on the cliffhanger. We have a romance in that first book, and then we kind of get a second romance in book 2 while still following the events that happened and still having our original characters as well. And specifically, this did something that in the first book, there was a thing with the magic that I was like, that is so cliche. I don't like that. I don't really like that we did this. I would like it better if this was not a thing, right? I don't like what this character is doing. I don't like why they're doing it. I don't like this. And then it is turned on its head in book 2 and is not what you thought it was. And I loved it. I loved it. I was like, oh wow, this is so clever. This is so fun. I did not see this coming. I like this. And so I think that that definitely like really worked for me and was part of why I loved the sequel so much. But yeah, it's that. With an honorary mention to Paladin's Faith by T. Kingfisher, because I adore her fantasy romance. I adore her fantasy romance, and this one was so beautiful. So good. Next question is new release you haven't read yet but want to. For that, I'm definitely going to say Homestead by Claire Kent. This is the newest release in her Kindled series. This one is a guy that needs a wife, and so she's gonna be his wife in exchange for protection and provision. And I think that Claire Kent can pull that off. I've seen her pull it off in her sci-fi series, and I am ready. I am ready. I do have one more book to read in this series before I can read that one, and I'm hoping to read it this month, to be honest, because while I will be sad that I run out of the series because the next release isn't until December, I love it so much. It's my favorite. I'm kind of obsessed. I've mentioned it a time or two. This is the spin-off series from Last Light, and it's dystopian, end of the world, finding love with people that you never would have found. And I really like this series because in almost every single book, if not every single book, there's a little bit of a forbidden relationship, a little bit of a forbidden element. Some of it's age gap, some of it is because of the relation to other people, you know, and societal norms and things like that. Nothing like actually icky, let's just make that clear. But because society collapses and everything changes and you have all of this forced proximity and all of this isolation and people just truly being thrust into circumstances that change who they are, she makes the romances work so well. Number 4 is most anticipated release of the second half of the year, and that is Masquerade by Sangoyomi. This is a slightly Persephone and Hades inspired fantasy romance with some tropes that I think I'm gonna really like. And it is inspired by West African mythology, I wanna say, or maybe it's history. But I love the cover of this. This is like my favorite cover. My favorite cover. I have heard some good early reviews and I have an arc of this and I am just really looking forward to it and have it very hyped up in my own mind, and I'm really hopeful that it is going to end up being everything that I hope that it is. Number 5, the biggest disappointment is Lore of the Wilds by Analeigh, Sbrana. This was fine. This was meh. It was whatever. I don't read YA fantasy, and that's how this read. It's not YA fantasy. It's technically like new adult fantasy romance, but it felt pretty YA to me. I've been looking forward to this for far longer than most people have. I just want you to know that, because I have known the author when this was supposed to be an indie release, and I was, you know, following it for months, and then it got picked up and it got a traditional publishing deal and then got postponed, you know, because obviously that's going to take longer. So then I had to wait a bunch more months, and I love the cover. It's so pretty and it's not that good. It's not that good. It's not that good. There's this one thing where like the main character, her fingers are turning black from magic. And she's like, oh, maybe it's just ink. Maybe like my fingers are just permanently ink stained and that's the price I have to pay. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're dealing with life-altering magic. You're risking everything that you know and everyone that you love and your own life, but like, what other choice do you have? And in that little brain of yours, the conclusion that you come to is that the price for your magic is for your fingers to be permanently ink stained? What type of price is that? That is... What? No, I don't believe you. There's no chance. So anyways, we don't even find out what the reveal for that is, but that being her working theory has bugged me to no end. Because I'm just like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Why would that be it? Like, I'm not saying that you're dumb as a box of rocks, but the only reason you survived this book was because the author wanted you to. So. Next, the biggest surprise would be In the Care of Magic by Robin Jo Margaret. I picked this up with basically no expectations. I liked the cover. And this is a queer demon and witch romance. And the demon is gender fluid and aromantic. And the witch is pansexual, fat, proud of her body. I want to say there was some other rep that I really liked about her, but basically she's really burned out. She does all this magic for the village and the village is like, thanks, I guess, but without the thanks. It's just, I guess you saved my life. So she goes on a break and summons a sex demon. And while the sex demon is kind of bored of their job, they still have steamy scenes. And I really liked the way that that was handled and the way that consent was important, both for the sex worker and for the summoner. And yeah, I just, honestly, it felt like a hug. I loved everything about this book. A steamy hug, mind you. There was a lot of sex on page, but just a very like happy, sweet romance that I really, really enjoyed, and I like seeing their happily ever after, even if it was a little bit different. Number 7, favorite new author. For this, it would definitely be Rachel Gillig. I am eagerly awaiting the release of her next duology. The first book is not even out of copy edits yet, but whatever. It's coming out in 2025. I can wait. I can wait. I can wait. So I'm really excited to read more from her. And then also Desiree M. Nicoli wrote Follow Me to the Yew Tree, and I read another of her novellas. I really loved it. Just very beautiful writing. Again, fun sex scenes, really good banter, like her characters. Her full-length books are mermaid romance, which is not like really my thing, as you might know or might not. Not real big into the oceanic paranormals. However, I do really like her writing and really want to read more of it. And so I do think I'm going to delve into her full-length mermaid novel. Number 8, newest fictional crush. Shane from Paladin's Faith. He's a paladin. He's a martyr. He is a rule follower. He will sacrifice his life for you. He will sacrifice his life for them. He will sacrifice his life for anybody. And that I'm not into. I don't like that type of character. I don't like a straight-laced, super uptight, religious martyr. The ex-evangelical pastor's kid. Watch my mom spend decades doing work for the church. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. However, it's T. Kingfisher. And the way she writes characters, I would give my life for them. I would lay down and let this man walk on me so his feet remain dry. And then the main character is a spy, and she often uses sex as part of her spying, and she's incredibly intelligent and really just understands strategy, and they are an unlikely pair, and I love the discussions that they had. I loved the journey of faith in this book. I'll start tearing up. I love the journey of faith in this book. I do think that if you are someone who has maybe had an experience with your religion that you grew up in, especially, I think, and had a bit of a disillusionment about that, I think that this book is going to speak to you. And I'm not gonna cry. We're gonna move right along. Number 9, newest favorite character. This would be Elwyn from Fear the Flames. I bought this. This was 4 stars, so it was not a favorite. I did really enjoy it. It has been picked up by traditional publishing and is being re-released in September, I want to say. So I kind of want to try and get an arc of the new version and read it. She's a princess who was exiled. She has dragons that she's cut off from. She's the queen of a kind of castaway kingdom of people who have had to flee their homes. She's really smart. She's a great fighter. She has fun banter. She doesn't mind having steamy scenes. She has great banter with the general of an enemy kingdom that she's formed an alliance with. She was fun to read. I really enjoyed spending time with her. Number 10, book that made you cry. The Queer Principles of Kit Webb by Sebastian is the most recent book to make me cry at the time of filming. I read it last week. I cry easily in books, okay? If you are like pulling on your character's heartstrings, you're pulling on mine too. I don't want my characters to suffer. I don't want it to be bittersweet. I don't want them to have to learn their lessons and talk to people. Like, I will cry. I will cry. And it means nothing, but I will. This was a really fun historical gay romance, and I really enjoyed the characters. One of the characters does have historical death of a spouse and a child, and that was handled really well. It wasn't trauma porn. It wasn't, you know, thrown in your face for shock value or anything like that. But at the same time, I could envision that type of grief and definitely was sad for them. Number 11, book that made you happy. Most recent book that made me really happy is After the Shut Up Ring by Kate C. Wells. I love Kate C. Wells. Who's surprised? This was a contemporary romance and it's not as dark as a lot of her books are. And basically she's been with a long-term boyfriend and they have finally made it to the wedding and he is the worst. You see those viral videos of grooms like making a mockery of their bride at their literal wedding. And people are like, wow, he's so terrible. And then you see her come back on a video of, oh, you know, he's just a kidder, he's just a jokester. Well, basically that happened and they have 2 little girls together and she was like, you know, no, I'm not gonna do this. So she leaves him at the altar and her best friend's older brother has always had a thing for her and just wants to love her. It was really beautiful. Also, our main character has an incurable STD and that is not stigmatized and is talked about, and it's talked about how anyone and everyone is capable of having an STD just like any other health issue. I watch Imani Barbarin, Crutches and Spice a lot, and something that she talks about a lot is that everyone can or will become disabled. And so while you are able-bodied, you should care about disabled people because you are always just one moment away from becoming one. Obviously, there's like a selfish appeal to you to care when you should care anyways, but it's also the truth. You can be as ableist as you want, but someday you're gonna pay with the same systems that you were happy with to crush others. That's not quite the point, but it's a good reminder for all of us anyways. But yeah, I really like that. I don't know that I have seen another romance main character having an STD where they couldn't just get rid of it, and I'm happy to see it. Yeah, beautiful romance. I love them. Number 12, most beautiful book cover, Lore of the Wilds, Fear the Flames. The cover I bought, not the new cover. I don't really like the new cover. It's kind of like a bootlegged version of the current cover. It's worse. Why would you take it and make it worse? Also, Masquerade. So clearly I have a type. Number 13, which books do you need to read by the end of the year? Basically my entire pre-2024 TBR. Because that is how I like to do my reading. I delete, read, DNF. No thank you, we're done here. I don't like things to linger. I find them to be like nagging to-dos rather than unlimited possibilities. But besides that, I have made not that much progress on my fantasy TBR, and I also have a lot, I mean it's less than 10, but a lot of fantasy arcs right now, so I really need to read some fantasy. Like seriously, need to read more than the 1 fantasy a month or so that I've been averaging. And I'm going to start the Queen's Thief read along in September, I think. And these will all be rereads for me by Megan Whalen Turner. Favorite fantasy series of all time. It's the best of the best of the best. It won awards after awards after awards. I'm so excited. Number 14, favorite video you've posted. This is the last question. I have a couple. One is don't buy these 2024 releases. I'm really proud of that video. I think it was a fun idea. I think it was a little bit of a change of pace for people when everyone was doing their most anticipated releases. And I think I had a really good mix of books that I would never read, books that I would read but wouldn't buy, and books that I like particularly just wanted to let people know about and put on the radar, and I'm really proud of it. The other one would be the fantasy romance vlog where I read all 3 of these books and Feybound, but we're not going to talk about that. It was a DNF. It was unfortunate, actually. But I read all 3 of these books then. So some of my favorite books of the year, and it was just so much fun, and I read them specifically for that vlog while my kids were out of town and I'd been, you know, in a bit of a reading slump, and it was just like a really bright spot in my reading, and I'm very happy with that. Also, my 33 for 33 TBR video, I did it because I wanted to for my 33rd birthday, and I'm actively making my way through that TBR, and I don't know, it just makes me happy. And lastly, my recent standalone rant review. I did have a goal to do a rant review when I found a book I wanted to rant about on my channel, and I did it. I did it even though I was like, well, no one's gonna really know or care about this book. I did it anyways, and I had things to say, and I'm really glad that I did post it. That was cathartic. Probably something like that. You probably know kind of what I'm saying. For me, it was good. I enjoyed it, and it helped lay to bed a book that was bad. I just had so much to say about that book, honestly, so I'm really happy with that. And that's it. Those are my favorite things, I guess, for 2024 so far. First half, close to the first half. Close to the first half. It's fine. But yeah, I love this tag. I love watching this tag every single year. It's a great time. I'm glad it's a booktube staple. And if you've never done it before, do it. It's good questions. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.